Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Sam, and I just turned 17. A few years ago, before my freshman year in high school, I wanted to play snare drum in the Foxborough High School marching band. However, and it was a dream that I just had to accomplish, but each snare drum and harness weighed about 40 pounds each. And I have a disease called progeria, so just to give you an idea, I weigh about only 50 pounds. So logistically, I really couldn't carry a regular-sized snare drum. And because of this, the band director assigned me to play pit percussion during the halftime show. Now, pit percussion was fun. It involved some really cool auxiliary percussion instruments like the bongos, timpani, and timbales and cowbell. So it was fun. But it involved no marching, and I was just so devastated. However, nothing was going to stop me from playing snare drum with the marching band in the halftime show. So my family and I worked with an engineer to design a snare drum harness that would be lighter and easier for me to carry. And so after continuous work, we made a snare drum apparatus that weighs only about 6 pounds.
When troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders.
Good afternoon. Welcome to our board work session, April 10th, 2023. I would like to welcome any visitors that we have. If there are any administrators or building leaders or leadership team from the schools, if you just wave at us. No, I understand, Monday after spring break. But always we have our partners from the library, Alan Harkness and Marianne Rickner from our museum. Thank you so much for all that you do. We're going to move into our public agenda. There are none listed, but I will take this opportunity to read into the record how the public agenda works. And so citizens are encouraged to address items on the board agenda or to initiate presentations. It won't stay. That are appropriate for school board consideration. The board meeting is not the appropriate place to discuss individual employee performance or individual parent complaints that have not been addressed by the principal or the superintendent. Citizens are encouraged to follow our normal channels to address such issues, which would be through the superintendent's office, through Ms. Karen Jones. Each speaker has 5 minutes to speak, and they have to sign up the Friday before the meeting, or the day of the meeting by noon. We'll go into a board discussion, and last month, I think I was excited about probably some game or something that was on and skipped over our school board self-assessment tool. That's not it. And so the self-assessment is what it's a governance tool that we use to evaluate ourselves, and each board member participates in this process, and they give us a grade of exceeds expectation, meets expectations, or satisfied, and any comments. And so our comments were pretty brief, maybe one or two. Really, one board member pretty much had comments, and maybe one or two other of you when you kind of talked about the area of being prepared to participate with our strategic plan process, about our access to the public in the way of forums, that we are should continue to do that. And I think that we also have talked individually about going back to having just public forums, not about anything in particular, but just to be among our parents, to see what, if anything, they may have on their mind. And so the tool, again, is just for us to use internally, and I thank each board member for your time and your effort that you put into this tool. And so we do have District 3. Is that later?
That would be later on.
Later down?
GSB in District 3.
Okay, that's later down.
5.04.
All right, perfect. All right, and so with that, we will go into our Education Committee. Ms. Buckner?
We have one item for the Education
Ms.
Committee.
Buckner? Just pull it.
We have one item on the Education Committee, and that is our gifted program update. We were supposed to get this a couple of months ago, but I think we had an unfortunate accident. I hope you're doing well right now. Good.
Yes, the deer not so much, but I apologize that I couldn't be here that night. I appreciate y'all letting me come tonight instead. And so I'm happy to be here and share with you just briefly about some of the Muscogee County Gifted Department updates for you. So let's see, am I pressing play here? There it is. Hi. All right, so just want to present the updates for you guys tonight. The big goals for our gifted program this school year have been to engage our students in evidence-based instructional practices that support personalized learning and differentiation. Another big goal has been to build relationships with all of the stakeholders and improve communication in order to really allow our students to reach their full potential, and then continue to always accurately identify our gifted students from all populations and to improve our services for them. And so, first thing I'd like to talk about briefly is the curriculum. We have been using research-based strategies, and problem solving and real-world applications are always a focus. And so specifically, what we have been using is problem-based learning, personalized learning, of course, Odyssey of the Mind, which is a creativity problem-solving program. We've used components of that as part of our curriculum this year. Social emotional learning, that's also, sorry, I'm not going on the, here you go, guys, I'm so sorry. Social emotional learning, which is geared specifically towards our gifted learners. There's actual gifted programming standards that we use as a focus for our curriculum, as well as, of course, always supporting the Georgia Standards of Excellence. So. One of the other things we've done this year, let me go back, has been to implement a fair and accurate assessment for all of our students. So they're evaluated on their skills individually, and so that's based on those gifted programming standards and skills to see how they are performing. And then gifted data updates that I want to be able to provide for you. So our gifted data, currently we have 2,567 identified gifted students in Muscogee County School District. And since 2014, we have been able to increase our underrepresented population by 497 students. And this is something we're very proud of and we've worked really hard to do. So there's a little look at the gifted student demographics. In the past 8 years, there has been an 11.2% increase overall in the identification of gifted underrepresented populations. Now, in terms of this past school year, in fall of 2022, we did have 626 gifted referrals that we received, and 215 of those students qualified for services. And at that time, students in grades 1 through 12 were eligible to be referred and tested. And so in the fall window, we had, this is a breakdown of the actual number of students that qualified in that fall window. That's elementary, and then middle school students. And if you notice, the middle school and high school students, there's fewer numbers overall because there's not as many referrals that we receive for middle and high school students as mostly elementary school students, but we do test middle and high school students as well. And then the percentage of population overall that qualified in the fall of 2022. So one of the things that's always a goal in gifted education across the board is when it comes to identifying our underrepresented population is we want our gifted population to mirror our actual demographic population, and we've made great strides towards that. So I'm excited about that. In spring, currently of 2023, we had another window open, and we currently have 738 referrals pending. And this time, kindergarten through 12th grade students were allowed to be referred and are being tested currently in the process. One of the things that we put in place, one of our goals is early identification in order to help accurately identify our students. And so that's one of the reasons we do the district-wide COGAT. We did that in October of this year, and all of our first graders took that test unless they were already identified as gifted in first grade. From that testing, we had 41 first graders that actually qualified for gifted services. And then a little fun, did you know? So Muscogee County is one of the only district in the state of Georgia that uses an online application process for their gifted referrals. So that's pretty exciting. And we also have the largest gifted resource pullout model to serve our elementary school students through St. Elmo. And 2 of our own gifted teachers from St. Elmo presented at the Georgia Association for Gifted Children Convention this past March 6th and 7th. So I was very proud about that. And then just a little something that we want to share with you. Let's see if it pulls up. There we go.
What's his name? That's Mr. What was that teacher's name that was?
Oh, Mr. Faust.
Yes,
Ed Faust, yeah.
Mr. Faust.
I just think that St. Elmo is a great program because they have a lot of hands-on activities. Like one, we have to build a lot, or coding, or 3D printing. I just think it's different from normal school where you just do normal paperwork and just write, pencil, paper. This is a lot of computers, hands-on building. I just like it at St. Elmo.
The thing that I like about St. Elmo is I get more ideas of the career that I'm gonna be in when I grow up. I like St. Elmo because you get to learn new things that you might have not learned in other schools. And there's fun activities you can do in St. Elmo.
Actually, from our 5th grade trip. All right. So just a little sneak peek into our world there. And then if you have any questions, I'd like to open it up for that. I promised I would keep it brief, so I tried my best to keep it brief.
Are there any questions?
Okay.
Great presentation. Just one, and you can, if you don't know the answer, do you know whether or not there is a gifted student from each school?
Absolutely.
if
We
every
have
school is
every school
represented?
represented, yes.
Very good.
There's different numbers from each school, but yes, every one of our elementary schools are represented,
Okay.
yeah.
For-
So Clubview and Hannon are the two elementary schools that serve in-house because Hannon's a gifted, talented magnet, and then Clubview, their IB program, will not allow for them to miss 20% of their IB instruction, so they serve in-house as well. But all the other elementary schools come to St. Elmo.
you said Hannah?
Hannon, yeah, so Hannon and
very
Clubview serve in-house, and they don't come to St. Elmo.
Yeah, I thought my daughter went to Hannah. I have one.
Sure.
The underrepresented population that gradually moved up and the underrepresented gifted population that moved up 497 students over a period of time, and you were saying that you targeted that population to do that. Now, how did you do that? What were
So some of the difference, it's been, of course, an over an 8-year process, but we instituted best practices in order to do that. So some of the things we did is make sure that our testing and assessment processes were in line with what the state asked us to do, making sure we have the best instruments to use. The other thing that was critical is that we've done professional development in the schools. The facilitators go out and provide that and talk about what gifted characteristics are, how to identify gifted students that may not always look the way we think it looks. And so that way that helps teachers go, oh, I did see this in this child. I think maybe they are gifted. I never thought about it. So that's a big part of it. That's really kind of helped us accurately identify students. The COGAT, using academic screeners such as that to pick up students that maybe you would not identify otherwise. So just using a multitude of different strategies like that has really helped us be able to be consistent about accurately identifying those students. And at times we've also been able to do things like, for our ESL students, we have some tests in Spanish, if that's their language. We've even we had a blind student this year that we tested, and we ordered a Braille test for him. So we really are passionate about making sure that we offer those opportunities for everybody.
And we still did what, 4 areas, motivation, the 4 areas of gifted?
Oh, yeah, so we're still testing for eligibility in the 4 areas, that's correct, which is the mental ability, it's achievement, it's creativity and motivation. So the state of Georgia, that it's consistent for everybody. Those 4 areas have to be evaluated, and you must have a 3 yeses out of 4 to qualify, unless you have a high enough score in ability and achievement, and then sometimes you can get in with 2. But yes, all 4 areas are evaluated and assessed at the time of testing.
Very good.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions?
I just want to say thank you, starting under Christine Hull, this whole idea of broadening our idea of what giftedness is. Keith, I appreciate Mr. Seiferd's leadership in that effort, and of course, continuing with Dr. Aguirre, who's just expanded on that. We are really identifying students who truly are gifted in many different areas that may not have been previously, and I think that's reflected in the numbers and the representation across our district and all of our schools. I'm just really proud of the work that's being done there, so thank you very much to everyone.
Excuse me, can I get some clarity on that?
Sure.
How are we broadening areas of what gifted is?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
How are we broadening our areas of what gifted is? Superintendent said that.
Like the definition, you mean, or identifying, so
how
so
we
by,
get there.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I don't understand what that means.
Sure, so I think we're talking about not making sure that, there has always been a misconception and myth of what gifted students are.
Oh, testing better.
Oh, I'm sorry. By the
Identifying
testing?
different- well, not actually identifying different ways. I think you said something about using, making teachers aware of the different
Sure,
characteristics.
so a lot of that is not professional
and making
development.
sure that we are identifying them better.
Sure, yes. And so, yes, that happens through the professional development that we offer when we go out. Yeah, when we go out to the schools, we'll meet. We really recommend to the principals, we'll do a whole faculty. It's not my favorite. It's better when we do it in grade levels, smaller groups. Teachers are not as scared to ask questions, and they'll pay attention better. And we really talk about specific, like I said, it's traits, characteristics, and there are also different traits and characteristics with different populations of students based on cultures. And so we even focus on that and talk about that as a tool to identify our students and not to just look for, just that straight A student. In fact, one of the things we talk to them about is you can have a student who does not qualify in achievement. They may not be able to read or do math, and they're still gifted, and they may still qualify for gifted. And so, just presenting things to them a different way, and then they understand, okay, I'm not gonna just have this one idea of what it should look like. And I think that's been one of the biggest things that's been helpful.
Making sure that they understand what gifted is.
That's right, that gifted is not, and there's actually 6 different types of gifted learners, and they all look different. And so just really making sure that everybody understands that and trying to get the word out with them. Yes.
Thank you much.
You're welcome.
Any more questions? Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you.
That concludes our committee, Ms. Green.
Thank you very much, Ms. Buckner. Next committee is our policy committee with Ms. Tillery. Ms.
The first one is 5.01. It's the school start times for school year 2024. Continuing the district's focus on supporting the whole child, administration conducted research on effective school start times. In doing so, research identified the need to adjust school start times in order to better support academic performance of older students and better align with guidelines from the CDC and American Academy of Pediatrics. I do want to encourage anyone in the community who has questions, concerns, or wants to understand the why, please come to these meetings. There's one tomorrow, Tuesday, April 11th at noon at the Public Library on Macon Road Auditorium. There's one Wednesday, April 12th at 6 p.m., and that one is virtual. And there's also one Thursday, April 13th at 6 p.m. at Hardaway High School Auditorium. I really do. This is your time to speak up and to understand the why behind what we're doing. And it's just important to go and to try and, figure out and understand our perspective as well as us to understand your perspective. And I believe we have a little presentation.
We do. Thank you. Good evening. I'm Travis Anderson, the Chief Operations Officer. And tonight I'm not going to be presenting for you the full presentation that we did before, because you have that information which outlines the why behind the proposal. But we do want to update you with some information that we received from our key stakeholders and some information that we've gathered from our community. So just to review, this is what we're proposing for our elementary, middle school, and high school start times, based upon the idea of doing what's best for the whole child, and keeping in mind that we want to align with the best guidelines from the CDC, as well as American Academy of Pediatrics. And the rationale that we want high schools to start after 8:30 a.m., we want to eliminate the need for early start schools at any grade level, and then we want to make sure that school is over by 4 p.m. So just to review the proposal. Our communication plan to make sure all of our families were aware of what's going on. We sent out an email to all parents. We called all parents to let them know to check their email and give them some updates. We've been posting on social media. Our Director of Communications did an interview with the news, which was aired on the evening and the morning news. We're on CCGTV, and it's on our website. So we've had lots of communication avenues, and we've heard back from our parents. As mentioned, we have community meetings. We already had one before spring break, which was very successful. We have 3 more planned, and we hope that you attend tomorrow at 12 noon, the virtual on Wednesday at 6 p.m., and then Thursday at Hardaway, 6 p.m. On the website is more information about how to register for the virtual meeting. We have received feedback from our community and from our stakeholders within the district, and overall, the feedback has been very positive, and I'm really excited about that. And also, the feedback hasn't been that extensive, which we know when you make a major change, if you hear from a lot of people, that's telling you something. But if you don't hear from a lot of people, that's also telling you something. And overall, we've not heard from a whole lot of people, which is pretty good. That means that people, for the most part, agree with it, and that's what they're telling us. We reached out to our principals. We did a formal presentation with the principals. When we spoke with them, we gave them the why behind it, the information and the research, and then we had them do a feedback survey after they had a chance to sit with the information and go back to their schools and talk with their team members. We have an overwhelming percentage of the principals who support it, 93% support the proposed changes. Just a couple of the comments, they had an opportunity to provide some open feedback. One principal, who's a middle school principal, said that it will help with the parents who drop off their students early. We know that a lot of parents, currently with our middle school schedule, are dropping their students off well before the middle school day starts because they have to go to work. And so they said that this would be helpful. Also, they said, another middle school principal said this would help with recruitment, because she has lost teachers to the elementary school schedule. So she thought this would help with recruitment at her school. And then one principal mentioned that they think there will be some tardies in the beginning as families adjust. There were more comments, but for the most part, the comments fell kind of into those categories. But again, 93% of the principals support the changes. We've also heard some feedback from our working parents. Some of the most common feedback that we receive from them is about the elementary school before care program, which is technically not a program. But if our doors open at 7 a.m. and the school day doesn't start until 7:45 a.m., that's 45 minutes of free before school care. So we are not officially offering a before school care program. That is 45 minutes of free care. And so we've received lots of positive feedback about that. The middle school starting before the 8 a.m. report time to work. We've got a lot of positive feedback about that. Those parents who need to be to work by 8 o'clock can still drop their child off if they want to at the middle school level. And that is the grade level that we see the second highest amount of car riders. So that's really beneficial for them. Right now, with our start time for middle school, it's very difficult to get to work even if you don't get to work until 9 a.m. So the adjustment helps those families who need to be to work by 8 a.m. And then, of course, because we see families who have children who are often in multiple grade bands, but typically in the ones right behind each other, so elementary and middle school or middle school and high school, those parents who have students in elementary and middle school are really pleased about the fact that it's a decreased gap between the elementary and middle school start times. It makes it much easier for the working family. So those are the positive feedbacks we receive from working parents. A common question was trying to understand how this helps with transportation efficiencies, and it's not an easy thing to understand, but we've broken out into 3 things of how it helps with transportation. Because we're creating a true 3-tier bell schedule that is very helpful for routing purposes, as well as we've balanced the amount of time between the 3 bell schedules. Right now, there's only 10 minutes between elementary and high school, so that's not enough time to be able to transport those students without driving for both grade levels at the same time. And then, of course, it creates more time for the largest attendance zone, which is high school. So that's how it really helps with those transportation efficiencies we talked about last time. It's important to note that those expectations that we are going to be able to get all of our students to school on time, get them home on time, not have anyone at the bus stop before 6 a.m., that is assuming all things are as they are now. So if we had this schedule this year, we would meet those goals. Next year, if something crazy happens, we may not meet all those goals, but if we had this schedule this year, we would meet those goals. There have been several questions, but not a whole lot of questions, but several questions around how this impacts student athletes and concerns about that. We saw this slide when we talked about this last time. I want to remind us that at any given point, the high school athletic schedule is only impacting a small number of students. So total, 35%. But at the fall, 1,281 students are the only students who are impacted, and it's only for their away games outside of the district. That's it. For the winter, less than 700, and for the spring, less than 1,200. So even though we know that's a concern that we have, it's a concern that we'll work through, that's something that we've heard some feedback about in the community. We are, of course, still taking questions, so if you have any questions, you can email us there. We've received very few questions, very few comments, but we are still taking those questions at that email address, and we welcome any feedback you have. And again, we are still meeting, so we have 3 more meetings left. Please join us, and I will take your questions if you have any.
I actually have a question. When you say 93 of all principals, is that all principals in our district, or is that just the principals you asked?
all principals in our
That's
district.
every
Yeah.
single principal? Okay, that's good to know. And they were then asked to go, inform the teachers, because a lot of teachers said they didn't hear about it, and they felt like they were kind of left out of the decision-making process. So then they were informed to go and tell the teachers and get their feedback, and then come back.
So they were not required to do a presentation with their teachers. The teachers received an email very similar to what our parents received, which outlined the entire presentation. It also outlined all of the research that was provided, links that they could follow, and what the proposal was. So they received that email before the community received it. We had a conversation with our Teacher Advisory Council and got some of their feedback after all teachers received that information, so they were able to have conversations and give us their feedback. And then principals were not required to, but many of them did go back to their schools after the presentation. We gave them that time to be able to talk with their staff members, and in some of the comments that they provided, they were giving us feedback from their teachers.
Just so I'm clear, you said the teacher email with the presentation went out before it went out to the community?
Yes,
Okay. So they just need to check their email.
yes, it is in there.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I just have a question. Could you explain the true three-tier bill schedule?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, so what that means is that we have an elementary bell schedule that stands alone, and there's no overlap from transportation standpoint, middle school and high school. Right now, there is significant overlap. Because there's only 10 minutes difference between elementary and high school right now, we only have a two-tier bell schedule when it comes to transporting them. We are actively transporting elementary and high school at the same time with our current bell schedule because there's only 10-minute difference. So the adjustment allows us, I'm sorry, not in the same buses. Thank you, not in the same buses. The adjustment allows us to be able to transport elementary, then middle, then high school, which is a more efficient use of resources. You're welcome.
Okay, I get a little nervous when we say if, because you said if things changes next year. I mean, under no circumstances would we pick up a child before 6 a.m., right?
Currently, we do. And so we
But
can't
with
say
this,
that.
I mean, people are getting nervous about the earlier start to elementary, that could possibly make that even earlier.
No. So what I mean by that is we are a school district of choice. We have lots of magnet programs. So we can't predict what our transportation needs will be for the magnet program next year. If it changes significantly next year than this year, then we may not be able to say we can get everyone on the bus after 6 a.m. Right now, those before 6 a.m. pickups are magnet students. If it remains the same this year, no magnet student would have to get on the bus before 6 a.m. But if for whatever reason we have a huge increase in our magnet students, or we have a lot of students attending Shaw and their magnet program that live way on the other side of town, then we may have a few that get picked up at 5:55 or 5:50. But at this moment, if we had this bell schedule with our current resources and our current demands on transportation, we wouldn't have any students before 6 a.m.
But, so if, the big if it would be targeted, so it wouldn't be like district-wide.
It's not
An
district-wide.
issue, it would be a specific targeted, you would know what's causing it.
Yes.
And perhaps be able to address it and relieve it.
The biggest issue, the example, like, it's our magnet students. Those are the students, that's the
Right.
big unknown.
Right.
We are able to predict what our zone schools will do. We're not able to predict the impact of
magnets,
transportation for
right.
magnet students until that is finalized.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay, so,
You're on a different microphone, so that's throwing me off.
oh, I'm sorry. So, okay, so Dr. Anderson, you said that, right now, we're picking up kids before 6 right now, correct?
That is correct.
And what is the latest that we're dropping off? Yes, now.
I can't give you that exact time, so I don't want to give a time, and then someone says, no, I get home after that. But I know we are dropping, one moment. I think it's about 800 students after 5:30 p.m., but I want to
After
give you that
5
exact number.
After 5:30?
Right,
And so,
after 5:30.
after 5:30. And then with the time change, what are we predicting? What time?
With the proposed bell schedule changes, we will have all students home by 5:30 p.m. Right now, we are dropping 770 students off after 5:30 p.m. The proposal says that we would drop all of them off before 5:30.
See, that's a plus in itself right there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, they're kind of random questions. I mean, they jump around a little bit, but, so we are still, though, elementary schools, middle, and high school are all transported separately, right?
Yes, they're not riding the same bus.
Of that 7% of the principals, were they in any way clustered among a grade level that were not happy? Because I'm hearing mainly from high school, and I'm just kind of wondering how prevalent that is. Everybody else might be a little disgruntled about 15 minutes early for elementary, but, I can overcome that easily. It's high school that I'm hearing the most from it. So I'm kind of wondering how the high school principals took it.
Most of the no's were from elementary.
Elementary, okay. That's
And
good
it
to
was
hear.
that comment about tardies, that's where it came from.
Right.
They're concerned that initially there'll be some additional tardies in the morning until families adjust.
Yeah, I imagine there'll be an adjustment as someone that really dropped her child off right before the bell at 8, but we all do that. Do any of our high schools have like an early release program for people that work? No.
For people that work, we do have work-based learning.
Yeah.
Yes, we have
And
work.
do any of ours do any, because I was talking to somebody I work with whose child goes to school over in Alabama. With their sports, they also kind of have a concerted, because they go till 4 o'clock too. If you have a sport, a lot of times they try to put you in PE or something on your last period to where they can kind of release early I know this isn't really under your purview, but, is there any kind of concerted effort with that on some of our high schools that might help them start practice a little earlier so that they don't have to run so late? I also realize that their county only had one high school, so.
Sorry, that's one of our former board members. Get back with it. So we will be making some recommendations. We're not going to mandate that, but obviously, high schools are pretty adaptive. In fact, schools in general are. They will adapt to what needs to be done and look at those kind of things as far as PE. I think most of them will look at this if it's approved and make adjustments where it makes sense. And of course, we build a master schedule based on certain caveats that we always deal with. You typically try to avoid AP Physics first period if you can for similar reasons.
Well, and I think some of that is just kind of it's like, oh, you should know that, but some parents people don't know it until you say it.
Sure.
I mean, I think my oldest, I'd been through 1 year of high school tennis when I go, oh, we should ask not to have your AP classes at the end of the day, because that's really hard, to do.
But I don't want to, much like Dr. Anderson, I don't want to give the impression that we will never have any academic classes last period, because that's in a high school schedule. There are only so many slots, and you don't want to have competing like your AP Physics against your AP Calculus for obvious reasons, so the schedule pretty much drives itself based on requests of the students. But we'll obviously try to, when it makes sense, to try and put those classes that might be less academic, not to offend anybody in PE or whatever, but if it might be appropriate for classes. Again, high schools are pretty good about adjusting schedules and calendars as they need to try and meet the best needs of their students.
Okay. And I will say, in high school, my student athlete a lot of times, even for home games, sometimes misses that last period. And so now they will probably miss the last 2 periods. So that's a lot of at-home learning that they're going to have to do, as well as other school districts who get out at 3:15 are not going to honor our 4 o'clock necessarily. I just think that will be a lot of time for those students to be making up at home. I mean, I understand the bell schedule, but I have had a lot of coaches and teachers and students and parents who have been heavy on the fact that they already get home late, and can we do the the tutoring before school now instead of after school? Can we move some stuff? I even had one person recommend starting at 9:30 and then just doing everything before school so that you don't have to stay until 9 o'clock every night, because if they do the tutoring after, they're already leaving at 5 something now it'll be almost 6.
That just really sounds like individual schools are going to make the necessary adjustments so that they can support their students being, successful. I would hate, I don't know, I don't know if you're asking that we prescribe study hall at a certain time. It may work at the beginning of the day at one location and not at another. So I think the schools will probably, the principals can figure that out.
Yeah, I agree. This was just these were 4 different schools that came to me asking me about it. 4 different teachers at 4 different schools that were very concerned that their afternoon time with their family would be really hindered too as a teacher.
Oh, I thought you were talking about this.
No, I'm talking about the
study
teachers,
hall at
the
students. I'm
students,
sorry.
the coaches. No, I'm talking about the
When
staff
they get,
members.
you're talking about when they get off work,
When they
spending
get off
time
work,
with their family.
their families, because they're gonna be there later every night, and so they already get home late, and now this is gonna push it. So that is, from a staff perspective, that's what I've heard.
Gotcha.
Sue, do you want to address?
Aren't we just really flipping it?
So that's what I was going to say. So right now, our middle schools get out around this time. So we have middle school families or teachers who are experiencing this schedule now. And so high school teachers and staff members will just have to make that adjustment that middle schools have already adjusted to.
Yeah, the workload in this, you know.
The difference is with the flip of the high school and the middle school, and let me make sure that I say I have no problem with the schedule, because I knew we have to pretty much do something, you know. But I go back to athletics. The difference mainly is, as I see it, and I know you said how many students are impacted. You did the fall, you did the spring, and you did but that to me is the biggest difference, because middle school, they play sports, but I think they're played more intensely in high school. And so when high school games are at in other districts, they have to get out of class. So that's the main thing that I personally are concerned with, just the getting out early to go. That's the main thing. And Ms. Green said they're going to try to figure something out with that. You know, we can't figure in all this stuff, but that's my main concern, that they will have to get out of school early, and the schools will probably figure out something in that regard, hopefully.
Anything else?
Are there any more
That's
questions?
it for me.
Again, my biggest advice is show up to these meetings, because the people up here have the answers that you want, and if you don't show up and you don't ask now, then it's really hard to complain after the vote in a couple weeks. So the sooner the better.
The only thing I'll say is what I said at the first meeting, and that we've tried to build a schedule around what the research tells us isn't optimal for student learning. There's no perfect schedule, or every school in the nation would be on it, whatever that perfect schedule was. And so we are trying to make the adjustment based on the academic needs for our students, and that's the whole premise behind this proposal and this recommendation. And I do appreciate the fact, I do also want to encourage people, if you come to the meetings, please try to be on time. We start promptly on time, and it's important because we do have people who come in halfway through the presentation, and then we'll ask questions that maybe have already been answered by the presentation. So if we can encourage everyone to be present and on time, if you're planning to attend, that'd be very helpful for you and for staff who are trying to make sure that we utilize all the time to be able to answer as many questions as possible. So thanks in advance for that.
That reminded me of my other question. Y'all mentioned registering for the virtual. I guess that's the first I've heard of that. I thought I could just log in and do. So do parents have to register ahead of time? They can't just join as of that day? I mean,
You can register right before. So
Okay.
you can register, as you log in, you can register.
so if they go,
Or you
oh, I
can
want
do
to
it in
jump
advance.
on, they can do that easily.
If you register in advance, you'll get reminder emails about it and things like
Okay.
that, but you can register.
Okay, that
as soon
makes
as
me
you
feel
log in.
better, because I would be that parent that wouldn't think about that until I was really, even as a board member, not planning on. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? We good? I'll move on to 5.02, the revised policy IDE co-curricular activities. In accordance with existing needs of the school district, a recommendation is being made to revise board policy IDE co-curricular activities effective July 1, 2023, to allow students in grades 9 through 12 enrolled in Rainey McCullers School of the Arts permission to participate and Georgia High School Association sanction interscholastic sports at their respective zone schools in accordance with the GHSA Constitution and bylaws for those co-curricular activities not offered at Rainey McCullers School of the Arts.
Or forever, almost? Okay.
Do you want me to read the attachment about the change, or do you?
I had a question really back in the body of it that I think I sent an email about, but I can't. But I just, if we're about to, vote to amend it, that first paragraph says that the policies, procedures, and schedules submitted by the principal shall not become effective until approved by the superintendent and the Board of Education. And we do not currently,
No,
so we need to take that out.
that will be a revision
Okay.
going forward.
Thank you.
I do want to clarify, too, it is expressed intent of this policy that no transportation will be provided, and in the event of a scheduling conflict, Rainey McCullers School of the Arts events, et cetera, like rehearsals, performances, exhibitions will take precedence and have priority over any zone school athletic practice or contest. Rainey McCullers School of the Arts students missing daily instructional time to attend zone school athletic events are responsible for making up assignments, assessments, presentations, labs, et cetera, as prescribed in district policy and guidelines. Failure to adhere to this policy will result in a commensurate negative impact on the student's grade or grades and withdrawal from Rainey McCullers School of the Arts. Just want to make sure that is clarified in there as we had agreed previously, and just so that's read into the record. Thank you.
Do we have any questions? I will move on to 5.03, the revised policy DJC payroll procedures. The Division of Financial Services and the Division of Human Resources are requesting changing the policy regarding the pay dates for employees from a combination of monthly and biweekly paid to exempt employees being paid monthly and non-exempt employees being paid semi-monthly. In addition, the policy has been revised to remove outdated language.
And I think both of these are ready for us to vote on it, right?
Yes.
Next week. Okay. They've already been on the table for 30 days.
Do we have any questions? Okay, I will move on to 5.04, the GSBA District 3 Director nomination. The Muscogee County School Board supports the nomination of Miss Naomi Buckner, good job, as the Georgia School Board District 3 Director. Ms. Buckner has proven to be a leader in moving others forward progressively. She is capable, conscientious, always diligent about the business of the school district and community responsibilities. The Muscogee County School Board highly endorses the nomination of Ms. Naomi Buckner as GSBA District 3 Director. The term of this directorship will run from July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2026. The election will be held during the district meeting scheduled for 10 a.m. Friday, April 14th, 2023, virtually via Zoom.
Now.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor, for reading that. So can we do a consensus, or do we actually have to take a vote?
Probably vote next week, I would assume.
Because we're getting ready to submit we'll do a consensus for the letter, and the letter is ready to go, the packet is ready to go. We got a consensus, unless I hear otherwise, to go ahead and send our letter of support, and then we'll vote on it officially next week. I hear a consensus.
Yes.
Consensus. All right. And
You're welcome. Thank you for being willing to do this. We really appreciate it. Yes. And if there are no other questions or comments, that is all I have for the policy committee.
all right, thank you, Ms. Tillery. Oh, thank you. Also, regarding our GSBA legislative priorities have already been submitted. And so now GSBA is getting ready to go into getting prepared for formulating all of the legislative issues and concerns for the entire state. If you wanted to add anything else, this is an opportunity to do so. historically, we just submit our legislative priorities that we've already discussed and approved as a board. We've not had we've not produced anything individually, but we can certainly do so. We have already submitted. Yeah, we're good. We just wanted to add anything else if this is an opportunity to add an additional. And we can think about it. You don't have to, just send an email. Each one of us, each board member in the entire state of Georgia got an email from Georgia School Board Association asking. So you can reply to that email or you can send it to Dr. Lewis and he will submit it from Muscogee County. All right, so now we will move on to Discipline Committee with Margot Sly. Thank you so much, Ms. Tillery.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is one item for the Discipline Committee. It is 6.01, and it is the Student Code of Conduct for the school year 2024. And the Student Handbook and Code of Conduct is updated each year to keep students and parents informed of current changes. And I'm not sure if there's anybody that would like to present on that from admin, but anybody?
And it also has to sit for 30 days. We're not ready just yet. I got you.
Okay. So there's minimal changes, and those changes are highlighted and noted in the Student Code of Conduct Handbook. It's redlined. There's a clean copy as well as the notation on the side.
Well, that was, the minimal is what I, was, because it's a joy to read through, scan all the 68 pages, even for redline versions. And so just always like to know that anything substantive would be, pointed out to us, just in case.
Yes, ma'am. And anything that was legal related to changes that are required is noted.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions or input?
Thank you.
His team is pretty much responsible for having a committee that reviews it. The committee is made up of principals, assistant principals, and district staff. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Up next is the Property Committee. And so typically monthly we have our museum reports and highlight, as well as our library system report and highlight. And so I do want to point out that the Education Department has launched a new pilot program for teens this month, which they will work closely with museum staff across departments to create interpretive content and learn about museum careers. So they've already had 2 workshops, looks like. And then they're offering a glass making workshop on March the 24th through the 26th. Actually, it's a lot of stuff. We need to have a link. You got the Winton Arts Partnership, the Artful Babies, at the Historic Tribes of Georgia, Museum Pals. It's a lot. It's a lot to do. It's a lot to do. If the kids are talking about they're bored, put them in the car.
Despite the construction.
Yes.
Because we will say that all of this is happening while the building is being majorly renovated. So kudos for continuing the good work.
I know. When someone said, well, the museum is closed, I said, what, are you kidding me? You better drive around. They are not closed. What was? Yes, yes. All right, so for the library, brand new website, new logo. I actually like it. Very good. So the app is an abstract logo that features a crisp, modern design with bold colors. So we have what's going on at the library. The South Branch will partner with Our Lady of Lourdes School. I was looking for a date. Their mission is to empower parents to be their child's first teacher. And then here, also at the South Branch, they're planting seeds and watching seedlings grow. I need to be in that class. A regular customer donated landscaping timbers and soil so the youth could create an outdoor space for tomato and sunflower plants. That's very cool. The North Branch has created a scavenger hunt for children every week. Children are rewarded with stickers, bookmarks, etc. when they complete their first hunt. And adult services staff helped a native Russian speaker find a Russian language version of her sewing machine manual. That's impressive. That's impressive. So good job. Thank you to the museum and the library for all that you do in servicing not just students, but the entire community. Next, we will have our Personnel Committee, Ms. Jackson.
8.01 is the principal for Richards Middle School. Mr. Warren received his bachelor's degree from Hunter College of the City, University of New York. He went on to receive his master's degree from Columbus State University and specialist degree in educational leadership from University of West Georgia. He joined the Muscogee County School District in 2007 as a special education teacher at East Columbus Magnet Academy and went on to become the department chair in 2012. From 2016-2018, he served as LEA facilitator for the district and the student support team coordinator at East Columbus Magnet Academy. In 2019, he joined the administrative staff at, is it Jordan or Jordan? Vocational High School, College, and Career Academy as assistant principal, where he currently serves today.
Ms. Jackson, if I may also just share that since the time of this submittal, Mr. Wizard has successfully defended his dissertation, is now Dr. Dwayne Wizard.
Okay. Well, doctor, all right, yeah. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I'm going to move on to 8.02, and it's the recommendation for the principal at Columbus High School. Miss Allen received her bachelor's degree from Mercer University and went on to earn her bachelor's degree and specialist degree in education leadership from Columbus State University. Ms. Allen, she started her career at Muscogee County School District in 2002 as a teacher at Baker Middle School. In 2005, she transferred to Columbus High School to serve in a various capacity to include teacher, English department chair, senior project teacher, and senior project coordinator until 2015. In 2015, Ms. Allen became the assistant principal at Columbus High School, where she is currently serving. Are there any questions? This is kind of not bold, having a hard time saying it. Are there any questions? Hearing none, we're going to move on to 8.03, the personnel report, and there are 3 attachments. Any questions? Hearing none, back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Our next committee is our Construction Committee. Item 9.01 is a budget item for middle school athletic fields. The superintendent is recommending that we approve the budget for Phase 2 of athletic fields upgrades not to exceed $2.1 million. And that's for middle school athletic fields Phase 2. This is part of the 2020 eSPLOST funding for athletic improvements. Are there any questions? 9.02 is the contract award to French and Associates to design. It disappeared. It's for also middle school athletic fields, right?
Yes.
That's what I can see
Correct.
on my short view, but if I touch it, it might do
One's the
something.
budget, one's the contract.
Okay, so this is the actual contract for those, that Phase 2, which of course is eSPLOST funding.
Right.
9.02. 1.9 million.
So one contractor is doing all of it.
One contractor is doing all, that's the question.
Yes.
That's yes. Are there any additional questions? .03 is the re-roofing for the former Bradley building, which is our Department of Information and Technology. Are there any questions? That's out of capital funds from plant services and contingency funds, $811,000. Are there any questions?
Sorry, I'm backtracking for a second.
Which one?
The one right before it. So we really only had one end up going through with the bid process, one contractor? Yeah, okay, but we do feel very, I mean, I know good things about the firm, but it still fell in line with what we were expecting.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, it took me a minute to read the bottom part. All right.
Are there any questions about the re-roofing? Okay. And then you have your standard construction status reports of all of our construction projects. It's a monthly status report that are going on. If you have any questions, all the updates are there. We'll have a picture shown later. Another month, next month. All right, are there any questions? Okay, that concludes our construction committee and our finance committee. Ms. McRae. Oops, sorry, I turned you off. Hit it again.
Okay, I haven't done this in a while and just found out I was doing it, so, well, at the beginning of the meeting. Okay, item 10.01, purchase exception A and B. There are 3 included, subscriptions and elementary science resources. Any questions? Item 10.02, purchases exception D, renewals. We have Crayon Software Experts for $13,000. Any questions? 10.03, purchase exception F, invitation to bid, RFP. There are 7 listed. Do we have any questions on any of those? Most come under our eSPLOST, some are not. Sorry, I'm kind of trying to remind myself of what I might have had questions while I read. 10.04, purchase exception G, professional services. There are 2 with some subcategories, as we've asked. Thank you for the various vendors for the summer learning experience, and then some for referees for the high school soccer season. Any questions on these? 10.05, sole source and volatile purchases. There are 5 listed. Yeah, what is pocket nurse? Oh, is that something under CTA? Okay, technical.
CT,
Okay. Oh, no, not really. I was just kind of curious, but if it's part of the technical training, I just would make sure it wasn't like teachers like a pocket guide to illness.
Something at
Pocket
Shaw.
Nurse is an official distributor of nurse and CTAE is currently in need of this mannequin to ensure that the training mirrors that of post-secondary and industry standards. So it's a mannequin type.
No, that makes sense.
Classroom equipment, but it's a mannequin.
Okay. Very important for medical reasons. 10.06, competitively bid purchases. There are two. A lot of milk and dairy. 10.07, purchase order increases. There are two that have related to athletic travel. 10.08, library emergency repair. Regarding the bookmobile. Oh, mine just went away too. Okay. Any questions with this? Just says, talks about the ability to make emergency approvals.
I think I may have sent an email last month about this relative to concern about the need, the availability of the air conditioner, I believe, was the air conditioning or something having to do with the bookmobile that was in short supply. So it was an emergency purchase because we could actually find one.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Okay. And 10.09, what we are always grateful for are the donations that are attached. Sorry, I was going to try to get my total. Always grateful for how our community supports our schools. This month it was a total of $27,058 in donations across the district. And 10.10, financial statements for everyone's review. Does anybody have any questions? And 10.11, budget adjustments as provided. Any questions? This concludes the Finance Committee.
Thank you so much, Ms. McRae. All right, we have just a couple of information items. We will have our proclamation for Month of the Military Child, as well as our state law enforcement certification, those two proclamations. We will read at our next board meeting. And Dr. Lewis, before we go.
Yes, just a couple of, you may have read about or heard that Vanessa Ellis, this year's Teacher of the Year from Muscogee County, is one of the top 10 finalists for the Georgia Teacher of the Year, and she will be participating in an interview process to select the Teacher of the Year in the coming weeks ahead, so we wish her all the best. Also, MEEF will be acknowledging and recognizing its top 3 Teachers of the Year for this year's Muscogee County Teacher of the Year. And that'll be happening this Friday, so look for media coverage on that. You may have seen an article that came out recently about the AP results for the class of 2022. And I'm pleased to share that thanks to the correct reporting and analysis by our research and assessment team, Muscogee County students fared better than the state and national averages on the AP exams, scoring 3, 4, or 5. So we're very proud of all of our students for that accomplishment as well. And finally, we want to be reminded that this is Autism Awareness Month. And so encourage everyone to wear blue for the meeting next week. That is the official color for Autism Awareness Month. So wear your blue next week. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you so very much. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, we do have an executive session for a personnel matter. Motion, go into executive session? Motion, all right, motion by Ms. Buckner, second by Ms. Jackson. All in favor, we're going into executive session. Raise your hand. All right, we'll see y'all later.